The night shift at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Most operators spent their time watching endless streams of data scroll across their screens, broken only by coffee breaks and casual conversation. But on this cold December night, everything changed. Tom Wilson sat up straight in his chair as his monitor lit up with unusual readings. At first, he thought it was a glitch in the system. The energy signatures near Jupiter's orbit were unlike anything he had seen before. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. "Hey, Susan," he called out to his supervisor. "You might want to take a look at this." Susan Parker walked over, coffee mug in hand. As she leaned over his shoulder, her eyes widened. The readings were clear. 15 large objects had appeared near Jupiter's orbit, each one bigger than the largest spacecraft humans had ever built. Within hours, every major space agency on Earth was awake and active. The International Space Command, formed just 5 years ago as a joint effort between nations, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 20 countries gathered in their virtual conference room, all staring at the same data. "These objects are clearly artificial," announced Dr. Roberts, the head of ISC, "and they're not moving like natural bodies or debris. They're maintaining formation." The objects continued to drift closer to Earth's orbit, but not in an aggressive pattern. Instead, they seemed to be struggling, like ships caught in a storm. Their movement was erratic, with bursts of energy followed by long periods of drift. Earth's most powerful radio telescopes focused on the mysterious fleet. After 12 tense hours, they received their first transmission. It wasn't in any human language, but the pattern was clearly intentional, mathematical sequences that could only be artificial. The best computers on Earth worked to decode the message. It took them less than a day to understand its basic meaning. "Help. They're not attacking," Dr. Roberts told the world leaders in an emergency broadcast. "They're asking for assistance." Earth's most advanced space telescope captured the first clear images of the vessels. They were beautiful, sleek ships that seemed to be made of crystalline materials that sparkled in the sunlight. But even to untrained eyes, they looked damaged. Dark patches covered their hulls, and their engines emitted irregular pulses of light. The International Space Station, positioned closest to the alien fleet, made the first direct contact. Commander James Baker watched in awe as one of the smaller alien ships carefully maneuvered near the station. Through the station's windows, he could see beings moving inside the crystal-like hull of the alien vessel. The aliens transmitted images explaining their situation. They were refugees, fleeing from some kind of disaster in their home system. Their advanced faster-than-light drives had been damaged when they passed through an unexpected radiation storm. Now they were stranded, their technology failing, with limited life support remaining. "We may not be as advanced as they are," Commander Baker said in his report to Earth, "but we know a thing or two about surviving in space, and we never leave anyone stranded out here." The world's governments quickly agreed. Despite humanity's own limited space presence, they would help. Ships that advanced must have incredible knowledge. Knowledge they might share if humans proved worthy allies. Inside the International Space Command Center, engineers and scientists gathered to plan the rescue operation. The aliens' technology was far beyond Earth's understanding, but that hadn't stopped humans before. They would find a way. "We don't need to understand everything about their ships," said Tom Reed, a veteran spacecraft engineer. "We just need to understand enough to help them get moving again." As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth's orbit, humanity prepared for its greatest space mission yet. Space agencies around the world began mobilizing resources. Private space companies offered their rockets and facilities. Research institutions opened their databases and laboratories. The aliens watched all this activity with apparent surprise. Through their simple picture-based communications, they seemed confused by humanity's immediate offer of help. Perhaps where they came from, different species didn't help each other this way. But that wasn't humanity's way. Humans had climbed to the stars by working together, by solving problems others thought impossible. Now they would prove that even a younger species could make a difference. The rescue mission was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they could do. The International Space Station had never been so crowded. 20 of Earth's best engineers packed into the station's main module, their tools floating beside them in the zero gravity. Through the large observation window, they could see 3 of the alien ships now positioned nearby, their crystal surfaces reflecting the sunlight. Tom Reed led the first inspection team. After 3 days of careful planning, the aliens had agreed to let human engineers board one of their smaller ships. As Tom put on his spacesuit, he couldn't help but smile. He had fixed spacecraft all his life, but never anything like this. "Remember," Commander Baker's voice crackled through the radio, "we're looking for ways to help, not trying to understand everything about their technology. Focus on their engine systems." Tom and his team of 4 crossed the space between the stations in a simple tether line. As they approached the alien ship, a doorway seemed to melt open in its crystal-like surface. The team floated inside, their helmet lights illuminating the strange interior. The alien ship's corridors were smooth and curved, nothing like the boxy, practical designs of human spacecraft. The air was breathable. The aliens had adjusted it for the humans, but the engineering team kept their suits on as a precaution. Their alien guide was tall and slim, with 4 arms and blue-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer. The humans had started calling them the Blues. Not very creative, but it worked. This one wore something like a uniform, with symbols that probably showed rank. The alien led them to the engine room. Tom's jaw dropped inside his helmet. Instead of the mechanical systems he was used to, the room was filled with massive crystals pulsing with internal light. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing diagrams he couldn't begin to understand. "Well," he said to his team, "this is going to be interesting." They spent hours taking readings and measurements. The aliens tried to explain their technology through pictures and simple diagrams, but the gap in understanding was huge. It was like showing a smartphone to someone from the 1800s. But Tom noticed something important. Despite how advanced the technology was, he could see basic physics at work. Heat still needed to be managed. Energy still needed to flow in specific ways. These were problems humans knew how to solve, even if the methods were different. Back on the space station, the team shared their findings. Their main problem isn't actually the engines, Tom explained to the gathered engineers. It's their cooling system. The radiation storm damaged their heat management crystals. Without proper cooling, they can't run their engines at full power. Dr. Linda Morris, a thermal systems specialist, studied the data on her tablet. Their technology is amazing, but maybe that's the problem. It's too perfect, too specialized. When it breaks, they can't fix it without exact replacements. But we've been fixing things with whatever we have on hand since we first went to space, Tom added. Maybe we can't fix their technology their way, but we might be able to fix it our way. The alien commander, who the humans called Blue Leader, listened through a basic translation program they had developed. At first, the alien seemed confused by the human's suggestion to use primitive technology. But as Tom explained further, using diagrams and simple physics equations, the alien's expression changed to what they thought might be interest. Tom drew a rough sketch of his idea. They could build a hybrid system, using the alien's advanced engine crystals, but cooling them with modified versions of human spacecraft radiators. It wouldn't be as elegant as the original system, but it might work. It's like putting a cooling system from a truck onto a spaceship, Tom explained to Blue Leader. Not pretty, but sometimes simple is better than perfect. The alien studied the drawings for a long time. Finally, through the translator, they received a message. Your species thinks differently than ours. Perhaps this is good. You have permission to try. Work began immediately. The space station became a busy construction site as engineers modified spare radiator panels. They had to work fast. The aliens had only 25 days of life support remaining. It's going to be tight, Tom told Commander Baker. But humans work best under pressure. We'll find a way to make this work." As he looked out at the damaged alien fleet, Tom knew they were about to attempt something unprecedented, mixing human innovation with alien technology. It might be impossible, but humans had a long history of doing impossible things. The real work was about to begin. The whole world watched as the first test of the hybrid cooling system began. Engineers on the space station had worked nonstop for 5 days to build it. The system looked strange. Shiny alien crystals connected to bulky human radiator panels with a maze of pipes and wires. Tom Reed floated near the test chamber window, his heart beating fast. Next to him, Blue Leader stood quietly, all 4 arms crossed. The alien skin seemed a darker shade of blue than usual, which the humans had learned meant worry. "Starting power-up sequence," Dr. Linda Morris announced over the radio. She sat at the controls, surrounded by both human and alien monitoring equipment. 10%, 20%, 30%. The hybrid system hummed to life. The crystals began to glow with their strange inner light. Temperature readings stayed within safe limits. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then it all went wrong. "Power spike," Linda shouted. "The connection points are failing." Tom watched in horror as the joints between the alien crystals and human cooling pipes began to crack. Emergency alarms blared through the station. Blue light flooded from the brakes, and the temperature shot up dangerously high. "Shut it down," Tom yelled. "Shut everything down now." The test chamber filled with emergency coolant spray. When it cleared, their hybrid system lay in ruins. 5 days of work destroyed in seconds. Blue Leader made a sound that the translation program interpreted as deep disappointment. "Perhaps our technologies are too different," the alien said through the translator. "We appreciate your effort, but we must accept our fate." But Tom wasn't ready to give up. He floated over to the damaged system, examining the broken connection points. Something caught his eye, a pattern in the way the metal had failed. "Linda," he called out, "come look at this." The metal didn't just break, it changed. The alien energy did something to it. Linda pushed off the wall and glided over. She pulled out a hand scanner and looked at the broken connections. "You're right. The energy flow from their crystals altered our metal structure. It's like it tried to crystallize it." Tom turned to Blue Leader. "Can you show us again how your cooling systems normally work? Not just the parts we can see. Everything." The alien activated a holographic display. This time, Tom and Linda noticed something they'd missed before. The alien's original cooling system didn't just transfer heat, it changed how energy moved at a fundamental level. "That's it," Linda exclaimed. "We've been thinking about this all wrong. We don't need to force their technology to work with ours. We need to help their technology work better at being itself." The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Engineers from Earth's top research labs joined virtual conferences. Old experiments with crystal growth were reviewed. New ideas were tested in small-scale models. Meanwhile, the clock kept ticking. 20 days of life support remained for the alien fleet. The pressure was enormous, but the human teams worked better under pressure. They always had. "Look at this," Tom said during one late-night session. He held up a piece of the broken connection. "Our metal tried to crystallize. What if instead of fighting that, we work with it? What if we create connection points that are meant to change?" They developed a new plan. Instead of forcing the alien crystals to work with human technology, they would build special connection points that could transform themselves. The metal would become a bridge between the two technologies, changing its very nature to make the connection work. Blue Leader watched the humans with growing interest as they rebuilt their system. The aliens seemed fascinated by how quickly humans adapted their plans, how they learned from failure instead of accepting it. "Your species is different from any we have met," Blue Leader told Tom through the translator. "When something fails, you do not give up. You do not even stay sad for long. You just try something new." Tom smiled as he worked on the new connection points. That's because humans have failed our way to success for thousands of years. It's kind of our thing. 7 days after the first failed test, they were ready to try again. The new system looked even stranger than the first, part alien crystal, part human engineering, and part something entirely new. As the power-up sequence began again, everyone held their breath. They had one more chance to get this right. 20 days before the alien fleet's life support failed. 20 days to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, but their determination to never give up. The test was about to begin. The second test began differently than the first. This time, there was no cheering, no excited chatter over the radio. Everyone watched in tense silence as Linda started the power-up sequence again. Beginning at 5% power, she said quietly. The new hybrid system hummed softly. The special connection points they had created began to glow with a strange purple light. Not quite human technology, not quite alien. 10%, Linda continued. Tom held his breath. This was where things had started to go wrong last time, but the readings stayed steady. 20%, 30%. Blue Leader moved closer to the observation window, all 4 hands pressed against the glass. The alien skin rippled with colors that the humans had learned meant intense focus. 40%, 50%. The connection points were changing now, just as they had planned. The metal was transforming, becoming crystalline, but this time it wasn't breaking. Instead, it was creating a perfect bridge between the two technologies. 60%, 70%. Warning lights flashed on Linda's control panel. The temperature was rising fast, but Tom noticed something odd about the readings. "Wait," he called out. "Those aren't failure warnings. The system is actually working too well." The human radiators were pulling heat away faster than expected. The alien crystals, instead of fighting against the human technology, were working with it perfectly. Together, they were creating a cooling system more efficient than either species had managed alone. Power at 80%, 90%, 100%. For the first time in days, Blue Leader's skin shifted to a bright, clear shade that meant joy. The hybrid system wasn't just working. It was working better than the original. "How is this possible?" the alien asked through the translator. "Our engineers spent years perfecting our cooling systems. How did you improve them with such simple materials?" Tom smiled as he looked at the readings. "Sometimes the best solutions are the simple ones. Your crystals are amazing at moving energy, but they're so perfect they can't adapt when damaged. Our materials are simpler, but they're tougher. They can handle stress and change. Together, they make something better than either one alone." The next few days were a blur of activity. Now that they had proved the concept worked, they needed to scale it up. The small test system had to be adapted to work on enormous alien ships. Engineers around Earth began manufacturing the special connection materials. Space agencies launched emergency rockets carrying supplies to the station. Everyone worked around the clock, knowing they had just 15 days left before the alien fleet's life support systems failed. Tom worked with Blue Leader to plan the installations. The alien commander had changed since the successful test. Where before there had been doubt about human abilities, now there was curiosity and respect. "Tell me," Blue Leader asked one day, "why do humans use such basic technology? You clearly understand advanced principles. You could build more sophisticated systems." Tom thought about it while he adjusted some connections. "We learned early on that complex isn't always better. Simple things are easier to fix, easier to modify, easier to understand. In space, that can mean the difference between life and death." He pointed to the hybrid cooling system. "Look at what we built together. Your advanced crystals provide the power, but our simple radiators make it tough and reliable. It's not about having the fanciest technology. It's about having the right technology for the job." Blue Leader was quiet for a moment, processing this. "Our people always chase perfection," the alien finally said. "Perhaps we forgot that survival is more important than perfection." The first full-size system was ready for installation 3 days later. They would test it on the smallest of the alien ships first. If it worked, they could begin upgrading the entire fleet. As the installation team prepared for their spacewalk, Tom looked out at the alien fleet glittering in Earth's orbit. They had come so far, but the hardest part was still ahead. They needed to install these systems on 15 massive ships, all while racing against time. But looking at the humans and aliens working together, Tom felt confident. They had found a way to bridge the gap between their technologies, and in doing so, they had bridged the gap between their species. The real test was about to begin. The emergency alarm blared through the space station at 3 a.m. Earth time. Tom Reed jerked awake from his short nap, already pushing off toward the control room before his eyes were fully open. 3 ships are failing. Linda's voice crackled over the station speakers. Life support systems dropping fast. When Tom reached the control room, he found chaos. Screens showed the power levels of 3 large alien ships falling rapidly. Their crystals, damaged from the original radiation storm, were finally giving out. Blue Leader's skin had turned almost white with distress. "Those ships carry our youngest ones," the alien said through the translator. "Over 1,000 children." Commander Baker immediately took charge. "Launch all available rescue shuttles," he ordered. "Contact every space station in orbit. We need to evacuate those ships now." The next few hours became the largest space rescue mission in human history. Every spacecraft that could carry passengers was called into action. Chinese space stations, European orbital platforms, private space hotels, all opened their airlocks to the alien refugees. Tom and Linda worked frantically to install emergency power connections to keep the failing ships stable long enough for evacuation. They floated through crystal corridors that were growing darker by the minute, racing to connect portable powered units. 6 hours of life support left, Linda reported, checking her readings. "We've got 300 aliens still to move." The space around Earth became busy with rescue craft. Pilots who had never seen an alien before guided their ships carefully alongside the massive crystal vessels. Inside the alien ships, human rescue teams in spacesuits helped guide alien families to safety. One small alien child, no bigger than a human 5-year-old, floated past Tom as he worked. It reached out and touched his spacesuit with a tiny blue hand, making a sound that needed no translation. "Thank you. We'll save your ship too," Tom promised, even though he knew the child couldn't understand his words. Just not today. After 8 intense hours, the last alien was evacuated. The 3 failing ships hung dark and silent in orbit, their crystals now completely dead. In the space station's main module, Commander Baker held an emergency meeting. "We have 12 days left to save the remaining fleet," he said. "But now we have another problem. Our stations are overcrowded with refugees, and we're running low on materials for the hybrid cooling systems." Blue Leader spoke next. Through the translator, the alien's voice carried both gratitude and worry. "You have saved our children. But without our ships, we cannot continue our journey even if you repair the others. We need all 15 ships for our people." Tom had been thinking about this while he worked. "The dead ships aren't useless," he said. "Their crystals are damaged, but we might be able to use them for parts, if we carefully remove the good sections. Cannibalize the dead ships to save the fleet." Linda finished his thought. "That's brilliant." The next 2 days were a blur of activity. Space crews carefully took apart the 3 dead ships, saving every crystal that could still hold power. Engineers on Earth worked overtime to produce more connection materials, launching them on fast rockets. Blue Leader worked alongside the humans, showing them how to safely remove the crystal systems. The aliens' knowledge combined with human ingenuity made the work possible. "Your people continue to surprise us," Blue Leader told Tom during a short rest break. "In our culture, destroying ships to save ships would be unthinkable. But you humans see solutions where we see only problems." Tom watched as another crystal section was carefully moved toward a waiting ship. We learned a long time ago that sometimes you have to sacrifice something to save something more important. It's not about the ships. It's about the people inside them. They had 10 days left to save 12 ships. The materials from the 3 dead ships would help, but it would still be close. Every hour counted. Every crystal, every connection point, every moment of work could mean the difference between success and failure. As Tom prepared to head back to work, he looked at the alien refugees through the station windows. They were counting on human ingenuity and determination now. He wasn't going to let them down. The real race against time had begun. With only 5 days remaining, disaster struck again. Earth scientists detected a massive solar flare heading straight toward them. It would hit in less than 24 hours. If that radiation reaches the fleet while we're installing the cooling systems, it could destroy everything we've done. Linda explained during the emergency meeting. We need to stop work and get the aliens to safety. But Tom knew they didn't have time to stop. If we pause the repairs now, we'll never finish in time. There must be a way to protect the work crews and keep going. Commander Baker studied the solar flare data on his screen. Usually, we just move our ships behind Earth's magnetic field for protection. But these alien ships are too big to move quickly. That's when Blue Leader spoke up. Through the translator, the alien suggested something unexpected. In our fleet's memory banks, we have designs for radiation shields, but we lack the power to generate them. Perhaps, together. Tom's eyes lit up. The same way we combined our technologies for cooling, we could do it for shielding. The next few hours were intense. While some crews continued installing cooling systems, others began building makeshift radiation shields. They used simple materials, water tanks, lead plates, and electromagnetic generators from Earth, combined with alien crystal technology. It's not pretty, Tom said as he looked at the strange shield arrays they had attached to the ships. But it should work. Just before the solar flare hit, Linda made a discovery. Look at this, she called out, pointing to her readings. The hybrid cooling systems we installed. They're actually helping strengthen the shields. The two technologies are working together even better than we planned. The solar flare struck with incredible force. The shield arrays hummed and glowed as they fought against the radiation. Inside the ships, work crews kept going, protected by their makeshift defenses. Through it all, something amazing happened. The remaining alien crystals, instead of being damaged by the radiation, seemed to grow stronger. The human-made connections channeled the energy in new ways, turning a potential disaster into an unexpected advantage. The shields aren't just protecting the ships, Linda announced excitedly. They're actually helping power the repair work. For the next 3 days, crews worked nonstop. They didn't have enough materials to build new cooling systems, so they got creative. Old satellites were salvaged for parts. Space stations donated spare radiators. Even museum pieces were launched into orbit to help. Blue Leader worked alongside the humans, learning to use their primitive manual tools. The alien discovered that sometimes a simple wrench could solve problems faster than advanced technology. In all our travels, Blue Leader told Tom while they repaired a crystal array together, we never imagined finding allies like humans. You turn problems into solutions, weaknesses into strengths. With 2 days left, they faced their final challenge. The last ship was the largest, and they had used up almost all their materials. They needed one more big push to finish the job. That's when Earth surprised everyone. People from around the world had been following the rescue mission's progress. Now, they took action. Amateur radio operators helped coordinate the work. Small companies donated materials. Students designed improvements to the cooling systems. Look, Linda called out, pointing to Earth below them. Lights were blinking across the night side of the planet. Millions of people signaling their support to the ships above. Even retired engineers came back to help. Old solutions were combined with new ideas. Everyone worked together, human and alien alike, racing against the final countdown. Tom looked at his tablet, checking the time remaining. 48 hours. They had to finish installing the cooling systems, test them, and get them running at full power. It seemed impossible. But then, humans had a long history of doing impossible things. Ready for the final push, he asked the mixed team of human and alien engineers around him. They all nodded, determination clear in every face and gesture. Above them, the hybrid-powered shield arrays continued to glow, protecting them as they worked. Below them, Earth kept signaling its support, and all around them, human ingenuity and alien technology worked together to prove that the best solutions come from working together. The final challenge was about to begin. The final 48 hours felt like both an eternity and an instant. Tom's hands were shaking from exhaustion as he connected the last cooling system on the largest alien ship. Around him, both human and alien crews floated in zero gravity, everyone holding their breath. Final connection complete, he reported through his radio. Linda, start the power-up sequence. In the control room, Linda began the process they had now done 11 times before, but this time was different. This was their last chance, using their last materials, with less than 6 hours of life support remaining on the alien vessels. Starting at 5% power, she announced. The huge crystal arrays began to glow softly. Blue Leader floated next to Tom, the alien skin shifting through shades of blue that showed both hope and fear. They had come so far together, humans and aliens working side by side, learning from each other, combining their strengths. 20%, 30%. Warning lights began flashing. The massive ship's power needs were straining their hybrid system to its limits. Tom watched the connection points anxiously, remembering their first failed attempt that seemed so long ago now. 40%, 50%. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. The hybrid cooling system began to pulse with a new pattern of light. The alien crystals and human technology weren't just working together, they were creating something new. The energy patterns, Blue Leader said through the translator, voice filled with wonder. They're synchronizing in a way we've never seen before. 70%, 80%. The entire ship hummed with power. The hybrid cooling system was handling the load better than anyone had expected. Tom's simple human engineering and the aliens' advanced crystals had created something greater than either technology could achieve alone. 90%, 100%. All systems stable. Cheers erupted through every radio channel. In space stations around Earth, humans and aliens celebrated together. They had done it. All 12 remaining ships were now operational, their power systems running better than ever before. Blue Leader's skin turned a bright, joyful shade as the translator conveyed the aliens' words. Your people have not just saved our ships. You have shown us a new way to think about technology, about cooperation, about life itself. The next day, as the alien fleet prepared to continue their journey, something remarkable happened. Blue Leader called a meeting with Earth's leaders. Through much improved translators, the alien made an unprecedented offer. Our people have decided, Blue Leader announced. We wish to share our medical knowledge with humanity. It is the least we can do to repay your help. And more than that, we declare Earth under our protection. Any species that threatens this world will face our fleet's response. But that wasn't all. The aliens had one more surprise. We will return, Blue Leader told the assembled humans. Not as refugees, but as trading partners. Your simple solutions combined with our advanced technology could benefit both our peoples. The alien turned to Tom and Linda. Your species taught us that sometimes the best path forward is not the most advanced one. It is the one that brings different strengths together. As the alien fleet prepared to depart, Tom worked with Blue Leader on final checks. The hybrid cooling systems were working perfectly, their combined technology creating something neither species had imagined possible before. Will you be all right out there? Tom asked, looking at the distant stars where the fleet would soon head. Blue Leader's skin rippled with what Tom now recognized as confidence. Thanks to humans, Our ships are stronger than ever. You taught us that perfection is not as important as adaptability. That simple solutions can solve complex problems. That working together makes all of us better. The fleet departed the next day, their crystal ships glowing with new power, their cooling systems a testament to human ingenuity and alien technology working in harmony. As they accelerated away from Earth, their engines pulsed with bright light, a farewell signal to the planet that had saved them. On the space station, Tom watched them go. Humanity had proved something important, that they could solve problems no one else could, that their determination and creativity made them valuable allies among the stars. And somewhere out there, a fleet of ships carried a message to the galaxy. Never underestimate humans. They might surprise you with the simplest and most brilliant solutions imaginable. The end.